feel like I'm standing up really tall because I'm on the step here. Look. I'm already 5'9", so it's. Is that better? Is that better visually there? No difference?
It's about the same.
It's about the same. Oh, it's more.
You have to grow another 1.5
to be off camera. Okay, or shrink 1.5 feet. So either way. So no, I don't know. I'm being fidgety. Sorry. Okay. All right. Are we ready to roll?
Yes.
All right. Woohoo! All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yay. Thank you. All together now. Everybody, welcome to Metro East Unitarian Universalist Congregation, and greetings to those watching the service remotely. I assume that Heather and Aiden are watching remotely, so everybody say hi. Hi. Okay, this is a welcoming religious community, and we're very, very glad you're all here. My name is Robin Berkeley. My pronouns are she, her. I have been a member of this congregation since 2010, and the sermon that I'm giving today is a little bit of a repeat from back in 2014, which 90% of you will not remember, and a few that will remember it said they probably don't remember it anyway, so that works out well. Anyway, so it's kind of cool. So, I have been, like I said, I've been a member here for a long time and was a past president, and now I coordinate our worship. So if I tap you on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, come here and talk to me about this," you'll know why. We are a small congregation located in Glen Carbon, Illinois, spiritually led by Eden Johnson, our ministerial fellow, and we gratefully share sacred space with the Edwardsville Masonic Lodge. Our mission drives us to live our values. We are outward reaching and inward seeking. We are creating and nurturing an intentional community that values acceptance, social justice, and the embodiment of UU principles. Please come, let us question together. We're glad that you're here, whether you're in the sanctuary or online, and we welcome everyone to this home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. Now, we're going to open our prelude. That is a practice for a song that's coming later. So hum along, learn the song, and then we'll get to it. I think it's the second song, right? Second hymn we'll do. Pretty simple. I think we can do this, folks. We can make this work. So anyway, Pam, would you like to light the chalice today? Would you like to light the chalice today? Sorry. I did not speak loud enough. I know. I realized that as I spoke to you, it was not loud enough for you to hear. I apologize. So, an important ritual in Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. UUs have many different interpretations of the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope as an expression. No, that's old. I don't know. I forgot to update my script. My apologies. If you're watching elsewhere and have a chalice or candle, please light it now as we all join in saying the unison words projected on the screen. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Thank you. Boop, boop. Okay. Our opening prayer is from the UUA website and was written by Evan Carvel Zimmer. Our souls speak spring. If we lived in another climate, our souls might speak other languages. We might speak oasis or permafrost, dry season or monsoon. But our souls speak spring. Our souls speak green shoots pushing through last year's leaves. Our souls speak flower buds stretching to the sun. Our souls speak mud puddle and nest building and damp earth and worm castings, tiny green leaves and frog choruses. We speak spring because spring sings to us. We gather to nurture our faith in our own growing, where our own courage to push through, our own blossoming in beauty, our own small part in the spring of this world. Come, let us worship together. Please take a moment to say hi to somebody that you haven't seen in a while or that is brand new. And then we will gather for coffee and more chit chat in a little bit. All right. Well, welcome everyone. All right. Our first hymn is Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188 in the Gray Hymnal. So today we're going to lift up the values of transformation and generosity, central, obviously with love at the center. And we've had a number of different sermons of late, which is why when I had to step into the pulpit today, I was thinking this would be a good sermon to sort of rekindle, because we've talked about how do you feel about the afterlife. We talked about sin. We've talked about a whole bunch of different things about how it compares or contrasts to other faiths. And of course, some news this week, as we all know, and we'll get into it in a little bit, about the military has removed the Unitarian Universalists from their roles of recognized religions for the purpose of chaplaincy. It's depressing, but it makes me realize that people have a strong sense of why we are different and how we are different. And so this kind of gets at some of those differences as we think about what does it mean to have a soul and what does it mean to live your life authentically and how those things align. So the transformation is obviously our own transformation as we're part of that process, as we tap into our souls and we learn a little bit more about who we are. And then the generosity, because when we are in one with our soul, it gives us this opportunity to be generous to others. So we will get there in a little bit. So thank you. As part of our weekly worship service, we take time for the expression of joys, concerns, or sorrows. Here in our new home, it is a place where we can each share the things that weigh down our souls or that fill us up with joy, and where those we love surround us in good times and in turmoil. If you'd like to recognize a joy, sorrow, or milestone, you can come forward and place a stone or several stones in the water bowl to represent your joys and sorrows. There are stones here in the front. Start from the back, come forward, and then return here on my right. Place a stone or several stones as a symbol of what you are carrying in your heart. So let us be in a spirit of prayer and meditation. This is for everybody in pain today. Okay. So our story for all ages today is called Compassion in Action. So it's a YouTube video. Didn't have time to get a story, so let's play the video.
Compassion in action. What's that all about? First, let's talk about compassion. Compassion means caring about the feelings of others and trying to put yourself in their shoes to understand how they may feel. It feels good when people take the time to listen, to understand, and to care. When you take the time to understand others, you can get along better with them. Having compassion brings us together and helps connect us. We add the words "in action" because we need to do more than just try to understand others. When we see that someone is hurt or troubled, we can do something to help get rid of their pain. We can take action and do something to make them feel better. This is having compassion in action. Compassion in action takes courage because you have to be brave and step outside yourself to understand others. Then you need to have the courage to take action. If you see someone is hurting or has a problem, you do something to help and to show you care. We can never really know by looking at someone what their life is like or what problems and sadness they may have. We can let someone know that we are there for them. We can really listen to them and try to understand their feelings and their troubles. We can reach out and be a friend to each other. Compassion in action can be little things like smiling at someone, saying hi, holding the door open, giving someone a hug, sharing our things, or just listening. It is also bigger things, like including others, standing up for someone who is bullied, getting help for someone in need, being a friend to someone who is lonely, or helping someone with a problem. Think of all the ways that you can show compassion in action. How does it feel when someone shows compassion to you? When you practice compassion in action, it not only helps others and makes them feel better, but it makes you feel good too. Imagine what the world would be like if everyone cared about each other and took the time to listen and understand each other. Imagine if everyone practiced compassion in action and tried to lessen the troubles and sadness of each other. Compassion in action is a bridge that connects you with others. It brings us all together and makes life better for everyone. Here's your challenge. Can you start caring for others? Can you do something every day to make someone feel better and be a friend to others? Watch how compassion in action changes your life and the lives of others. Let's show compassion in action.
I chose that story because as we talk about what a soul means and how do we connect to our souls, a lot of it is about making that connection and showing compassion in action, and that's what it's all about. So we'll see how that proceeds. So our second hymn today is "Deep in Our Soul," which we already got an intro to. No, they're staying here. Sorry. Apparently, yes, you're right. Thank you. But yes, yeah, Jen told me. That's why I was like, oops, okay. It's crossed out now on my script. All right, "Deep in Our Soul." That's all good. So I went camping this weekend, and I was sitting down to dinner one day, or actually it was in the morning. We were all getting up because we left Thursday, so a lot of us still had to work, but we can work remotely. We can work in a campground, right? And I'm looking at these books that are sitting in front of my friend, and she had Gary Zhukov's book, The Seat of the Soul. And I went, I'm doing a sermon on that this weekend. And she's like, oh my God, really? I'm like, yeah. And then we got a chance to talk more about spirituality and what it meant to her. And it was kind of cool. So I'm going to have lots of bits from this book. And if you have not read it, I highly recommend it. I read it a long time ago. Probably should pick it up again. But anyway, it's a really amazing and insightful book. So he says, we as a species have been asking the questions, is there a God? Is there a divine intelligence? And is there a purpose to life? For as long as we have been able to articulate questions, this time has now come for us to expand into a frame of reference that allows those questions to be answered. The larger frame of reference of the multisensory human allows an understanding of the experiential, meaningful distinction between the personality and the soul. Your personality is that part of you that you were born into, that lives within and will die within time. To be a human and to have a personality are the same thing. Your personality, like your body, is the vehicle of your evolution. The decisions that you make and the actions that you take upon the earth are the means by which we evolve. At each moment, you choose the intentions that will shape your experiences and those things upon which you will focus your attention. These choices affect your evolutionary process. This is so for each person. If you choose unconsciously, you evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you evolve consciously. The fearful and violent emotions that have come to characterize human existence can be experienced only by the personality. Only the personality can feel anger, fear, hatred, vengeance, sorrow, shame, regret, indifference, frustration, cynicism, and loneliness. Only the personality can judge and manipulate and exploit. Only the personality can pursue external power. The personality can also be loving, compassionate, and wise in its relations with others, but love, compassion, and wisdom do not come from the personality. They're experiences of the soul. So, as I said, back in 2014 is when I put this together, and so it's I will be reading it because normally I like to speak more extemporaneously when I'm in the pulpit, but since I have it written already and I didn't want to feel like memorizing it in the very short period of time I had this week, I wanted to make sure that we got into it. So the sermon was really called "You're Not Meant to Be Perfect, You're Meant to Be Whole." Throughout this, I talk a lot about what does it mean to be in touch with your soul and what that soul means, particularly for Unitarians. So the larger question is, do we have souls? And of course, the answer is a resounding yes, but not in the way that a mainstream Christianity would think about it, and as I will get into here. So buckle up. Here we go. All right. So I first delivered this sermon in 2014 in Alton, and at that time I was in a long-distance relationship that often involved long trips to Columbus, Ohio, and I got into the habit of listening to Sirius Radio to pass the time along the trip while the kids were in the back seat reading or watching movies, on a DVD player and what have you. So it was my time to sort of meditate and think about spiritual things. I was a relatively new member of this church. I've been here about 4 years when I delivered this. And at that time, one of my favorite shows was Oprah's Soul Sunday. At this point in my life, I was relatively new UU. I was still exploring what spirituality meant to me. I had studied a lot of Buddhism and Yoga Sutras and had moved on to more general aspects of what spirituality meant. At the time, my favorite thing as I was driving into church was to listen to Krista Tippett on my way into church. And then I started reading things like Zhukov's Seat of the Soul. And on one particular long trip to Columbus and back, I was listening to Oprah, of course, and she had interviewed Jane Fonda. And today I would not be surprised because as I've gotten to know who she is and listened to her more and more, I was like, oh yeah, well, that makes perfect sense. Now, at the time I was like, Jane Fonda? Like, really? Spiritual leader? I'm not so sure about that. but I stuck with it, and I said, okay. But the last 12 years has really changed the way I think about her, right? So what is it about her that it was exemplifying spiritual awakening? And obviously, let's be real, right? We all have memories of who Jane Fonda is, sort of depending on how old you are. She's a huge, Atlanta Braves fan. She was the former wife of Ted Turner, who has recently died. She was an exercise guru. Well, that's really when I first have my memory of her as the exercise guru with the videos and the aerobics and all that kind of stuff. But before that, she was a very controversial figure during the Vietnam War. And if you talk to anybody who was a Vietnam era veteran, they either have forgiven her or they're still really angry. There's like no in between on that. And in fact, I had a former neighbor. In fact, any of you who remember Michelle Bryant Barbeau, who used to be a member of our church, I think she goes to Elliott now because it's closer to her house. But her father-in-law was my neighbor, and he was a Vietnam or a vet. And you mentioned Jane Fonda, and he's like, Hanoi Jane, do not even talk about her in my presence. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to let that go. But I get that, right? There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of hurt and anger around some of her behaviors. And she's worked really hard to make amends, honestly. She has reached out to veterans groups. She's talked about what her intentions were. She has apologized for some of the silly things that she did when she was, a teenager or a young adult at 20 plus. And it's not the person who she is today, but nonetheless, that's still that. But the show got into her past and a lot of things that I did not know about her, which was very interesting. On the show, she shared her journey, her own personal journey, that her mother had committed suicide when Jane was about 14 because her mother had been a victim of rape and she could not cope and she could not process. And so she ended up taking her own life. And Jane had her own sense of low self-esteem and an eating disorder. And she had an emotionally distant father. And if you saw on Golden Pond, that was her life and how she was coping with things. So I highly recommend seeing that. And I didn't realize it was more autobiographical than they had led it to be as I learned about her. She grew up feeling invisible in her house. And so, she wasn't, but she felt that way. She was a tomboy. She was athletic. She didn't fit in school either. It finally took until she divorced Ted Turner that she finally found herself and her voice. She found her essence, her core, or her soul, if you will. And as she shared her story, I could feel this energetic connection to the words that she was sharing. It felt really familiar and felt very true. And she argued that we were not meant to be perfect. We were meant to be whole. Now, I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday morning who was getting ready for her daughter's graduation party. And she's like, I'm such a perfectionist. I'm such a perfectionist. And I had to talk her down. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what your daughter wants. And if it's what your daughter wants, then that's all that's going to matter, right? So, we had, it's perfectionism is the enemy of excellence because we expect that everything needs to be exactly perfect and we need to control it. And you don't, because life is what life is, right? So she found her wholeness in the last third of her life. That's what she calls it, the final phase of her life. And it's a good reminder that it's really never too late to find your center and to find your true place of authenticity. You can feel her bliss, you can feel her centeredness as she spoke on that show, and it felt really authentic, and it really, really touched me. Now, I have been long doing research on authenticity, particularly for people that have concealable stigmas and how do they get to feel authentic. And so lately, you get into fights with the homophobes over Pride Month and why isn't there straight pride? And I'm like, okay, I'm just exhausted with these conversations. But finally I turned around and I said, we're not here celebrating anything other than our right to be authentically ourselves. You don't have to like it, but this is the way it is, right? So, and that's really what it comes down to, the ability to just be yourself. And to have space to do that and to allow space for that person sitting next to you to bring their own authenticity to the table. That's what matters, right? But the core of everything that we do is authentic. And so when I heard this message, actually at the time I was going to actually do some work with my ex-girlfriend Rox at the time we were doing research on authenticity. And I was like, I'm listening to this message on the radio, I'm going, God, it's like that all the stars are in alignment on this, and like why it mattered to me. And that's why it resonated, right? So I sat with it and I started thinking about how that connected to some of my own views of spirituality, my life path through Buddhism and yoga and Unitarian Universalism and all those things that were really important to me spiritually. What does it mean to be whole? What does it mean to be a whole person? And why does the pursuit of perfection move us away from that path to wholeness? Funny thing, on the way back from to Glen Carbon, at the time I was living right over there, on another trip, I had Oprah radio on again, and it all started to gel. Like I was listening to Gary Zukav's Seed of the Soul a few years after listening to him speak on the radio. I found it really eye-opening about how he likens the soul to our very essence as a human. Now, for me as a former Catholic, I had a very different idea of what a soul was or what it would even look like. And I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, Mom, the Bible that my mom and dad had on the table in the living room, and you'd go through it and there'd be pictures in there, and this vision of what the soul looked like. It looked like a loaf of bread with wings on it, and it's sort of shaped of a hollowed out chest, like if you had put plaster of Paris in a chest cavity and then pulled the chest cavity apart, and then that was what it looked like. And I got the imagery. It made perfect sense to me as I thought about it. But that's how I always envisioned what a soul was. It was like a piece of flying bread. Like, okay. I think it was white bread, and it should have maybe had a whole wide variety of bread colors, right? But, the white nationalism at the time, what can we say? Anyway, so the goal was, that, when we die, this soul would lift up from us and go to heaven or hell or purgatory or whatever, however you lived your life and what you believed at the time. And in Catholicism, that's pretty much your options. It's one of the three places. So any image in that Bible that was about the soul was about this flying loaf of bread. So, but I started to realize as I've done, my own studies, my own personal digging into these things, that I know what the soul is much more than that. So I'm going to take you through a slideshow. So Alex, I need you here. Okay. So I got a whole bunch of slides up here with some pictures. So let's go to the first one. So, and go ahead, keep clicking through it because I have things so we talk about soul food. This is how the word soul is used in our lexicon, right? Soul food, right? Love soul food. Go ahead. Soul music, Benny King, Robert Cray, In My Soul. One more. The Soul Train. Remember Soul Train? Everybody's dancing down the aisle together. I love that show. So let's go ahead to the next slide. So when we talk about a soulmate, right? A soul sister, heart and soul, words that we use all the time about how important it is for us. Rumi talks about it. Your soulmate recognizes your divine nature. So the soul is more than just our body. It's this sense of energetic connection, I think, that we have. Go ahead, one more. And this is Lord Voldemort after his soul has been split 8 times. It's pretty ugly because the whole imagery in that whole series is about splitting your soul. And in order to split your soul, you have to do something egregious. So it's hard. Now, I know we all have mixed feelings about J.K. Rowling, but I do love the Harry Potter stories. So, keeping and honoring the intent of that, not honoring her at all, particularly during Pride Month. Fuck that. Sorry. Did I say that out loud? I apologize. Okay. You didn't hear me? Oh, good. I'm glad you didn't hear it, Mom. That's good because, it is. Anyway, let's move on to the next slide. So is a soul something that only Christians have? And Christians would certainly argue that, yes, they have, they have it all, right? That it's something that's holy and pure, is deserving of eternal salvation. So, yeah, maybe, but I think it's more than that. And I think when you have a narrow view of what is considered to be a soul, it is a narrow view of what it means to be saved and to have a soul and to have some sort of identity. There's famous pieces of art that try to exemplify what a soul is, and often it's a woman in chains or bound to a place of damnation. And then the soul, of course, on the far right-hand side is all that stuff with the sunshine. It looks like the giant eye of Sauron, but we won't talk about that either. But Sorry, I'm a science fiction geek, if you haven't already noticed. So do UUs have souls? Well, yeah. If Christians believe that they have ownership of the definition of soul, then of course Unitarians really don't believe in eternal salvation in heaven. So that means, according to Christians, we're soulless. Now, this is why this was really resonating for me this week, because as we know, the Department of Defense has made a decision to remove the UUs from chaplaincy. Well, yeah. Well, yes, thank you. I was like, Pete, like, yeah, I understand that. But unfortunately, since he's the talking mouth at the head, it is what it is. So he's made this decision that our chaplains have no value to them anymore. We have a former member here. Well, I guess he's still kind of a member, but he hasn't come to church in a long time. Eric Johnson was a UU chaplain in the Navy. So we know that there's a place, and I think we are very uniquely positioned to serve all faith traditions because we're founded in so many different sources. So again, this is just it's another element in this whole movement to reinforce white Christian nationalism. But getting back to this about us being soulless, well, of course, I know more than my share of non-Christians, Unitarians, atheists, whatever. If you don't consider yourself a Christian, and I would put their characters up against the most righteous individual who believes that they have this direct line to God because they thought they had a soul and that non-believers didn't. And I think that everyone has a soul, but not in the way that Christians see it. I don't believe that souls are really linked to this idea of salvation and damnation. And I think that's a way, again, it's a tool to control people, right? It's a tool to manage them, to keep everybody in alignment. Next slide, Alex. So is a soul about how we think and who we are, that Cartesian idea of I think, therefore I am? Is our soul really our brain or our body, or the two working together? Energy, we know it's a force. Like Ray Charles says, it's like electricity. We don't really know what it is, but it's a force that can light up a room. And I love some of these sayings. I think somehow it goes deeper than just being a part of our body or the way that we think about things, because our brains, if you know anything about Buddhism, our brains are just another piece of our body that tries to distract us with our monkey brain chatter, right? Pulling us away from our divine essence. Is our soul our conscience or our center of morality? Not quite, but that's getting closer, because I think the soul may be greater than that, even though we call someone soulless. When we call someone soulless, we're certainly implying they lack a moral center, but that's a part of it. That's not all of it. When we think about soul music or soul food, what comes to mind for me energetically is something that touches my inner passions. Like if you have ever bitten into like a piece of fried chicken and some really good collard greens at a soul food restaurant, and mac and cheese, it is life-changing. It really is. And so I think that when we talk about these things, it's about our inner passions, and it's uplifting and it's energizing. And I think about what a soulmate means, right? I think about the person that I feel connected to in a fundamental way, deeply, unspoken, passionate, transcendent, all of these things. That's what we love in our partners, when we feel like this is my soulmate because they get me deeply, here in the middle of our hearts. So for me, after a lot of deliberation, reading Gary Zukav, I realized that our soul is our essence. It's the essence of who we are. It's something that is larger than our body or the monkey brain that chatters incessantly, the one that tells us we have to be perfect, we have to be perfect, we have to be perfect. No, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good. Our soul is that which makes us whole and unique and excellent in our own way, our own uniquely beautiful selves. When we meditate, we're trying to remove ourselves from the constraints of our body and our chattery mind to seek our deepest essence. And our soul goes beyond those five senses. Let me continue with more of what Zukav said. Your soul is that part of you that is immortal. Every person has a soul, but a personality that is limited to its perceptions to the five senses is not aware of its soul, and therefore cannot recognize the influences of its soul. As a personality becomes multisensory, its intuitions, its hunches, and its subtle feelings, it becomes important to it. It senses things about itself and other people and the situations in which it finds itself that it cannot justify on the basis of the information that its five senses can provide. It comes to recognize intentions and to respond to them rather than to the actions and the words that it encounters. It can recognize, for example, a warm heart beneath a harsh and angry manner. Think about what we just talked about with compassion in the video, and how sometimes when someone's angry at us, we don't know what someone's going through. That was a big part of that theme in there. So we realize that sometimes there's a heart beneath all that coldness and that anger, and how important it is to learn that about others. Our soul is not a passive or a theoretical entity that occupies a space in the vicinity of your chest cavity, like the loaf of bread. It is a positive, purposeful force at the core of your being. It is that part of you that understands the impersonal nature of the energy dynamics in which you are involved, that loves without restriction and accepts without judgment. So it's sort of interesting, a lot of the research that's been done on death and dying and things like that, they said if you weigh somebody before death and after death, that there's an infinitesimal change in the mass, or in the weight, right? It's like, in fact, it's like less than maybe 1/10 of 1 ounce. But there is a difference in the weight of somebody before and after death. And some think that maybe that's what represents the soul as it leaves our body, our energetic essence. I don't know if that's been scientific proven, or it's just the imagination of a science fiction writer or ivory tower theoretical physicist, because I know I've known plenty of those. But given a life force is leaving us, energy moves on to another plane. Maybe it holds some minute degree of mass, right? I don't know, but it's kind of an interesting idea. Perhaps it's the missing link to that hard question of what makes up human consciousness, right? We don't know. So Zukov goes on to argue that the goal is to align the personality, as we discussed in the reading, with the soul, to allow our inner essence to manifest itself through our day-to-day activities in a way that makes us whole and complete and at peace. Checking in on that. Right? So let's circle back to Jane Fonda. The wholeness that she speaks about is really about finding our soul and then allowing it to present itself in physical manifestation, whether it's actions or behaviors, intentions, you name it. Digging deep within ourselves and finding our truth, our true self, who we would be if someone hadn't told us who or what we should be. So listening to who we are. And that's a hard thing, because we spend all of our lives absorbing what other people tell us we should do, the way we should think about things, the way we need to be. Thank you. The pursuit of perfection is about our personality driving us to the place that is not authentically who we are. It's about trying to control that which we can't control, leading ultimately to pain and dissatisfaction. First and foremost, we have to love ourselves. You can't love others if you can't love yourself. The love of self comes from a deep place within us, acceptance of our flaws with an eye towards improving ourselves, not radically, but incrementally. Radical change is hard, right? I mean, I teach this, right? This is one of the many things that I teach people. Sometimes if you're going to have to go through a radical change, it is life-changing. We've been through some radical changes here in this church. If you have been a part of this place since we were in Alton, you've seen that, how we really needed to take stock of ourselves and really look at ourselves deeply. Until we made that hard decision, we were just sort of bouncing. And now I feel like we're much more in connection with who we are and what we value. And that's so important. But I know radical change is hard, and some people are really super good at it. Others, we struggle, and it's okay. So great example is my Uncle Steve. One day he woke up and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to drink anymore. And he stopped drinking hard alcohol. Decided, I'm not going to smoke anymore. Just stop drinking. I don't know how he did that, because that's really hard stuff. It takes a lot to do that. I know, just my own weight loss journey, Joy and I've just been talking about that. And it's like, you know what? It's not easy, because it's a multifaceted approach, and there's a whole lot of reasons why people overeat, have eating disorders, whether it's one direction or the other, right? And sort of where that all comes from. But, they make this decision, and suddenly that path gets changed. And this is not for everyone. Not everybody can do this. And for many of us, You know, our improvements are more incremental. Like, I'm going to make this change today, and then I'll change this thing, and I'll change this thing. And I go back to when my father quit smoking, and it was not about radical change, because you can't just say, I'm not going to smoke anymore. He was in a program that incrementally changed his relationship with cigarettes to the point where at the end he was like, yeah, I don't want this anymore. And in fact, he had to still smoke even when he didn't want to smoke anymore, because that was part of the program. And eventually he quit, and he never really wanted to go smoking after that. Like, once he got past that program, it was pretty profound. So not everybody can do this. Mostly we got to focus on our incremental improvement. And we need to be gentle with ourselves, because guess what? It's a journey, not a destination. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to trip. We're going to fall. We're going to fall backwards. We're going to take it, you know, a little cha-cha, whatever, kind of like what, you know, everybody's going through right now in society. It's like all these things that we had taken for granted are no longer taken for granted. And we have to realize that sometimes we have to go backwards to go forwards. There's a fundamental difference between the pursuit of perfection and the pursuit of excellence. And I think it's clear that the pursuit of perfection can mask or destroy your soul. So here's some great examples of, you know, some of these graphics that talk about the relationships of what the spirit and the soul and the body are. They're very different entities, as you can see from all the graphics up here. And these are things I've pulled from, you know, different research. You know, the one on the left is like truth, thinking, reason, conscious, goodness, and then beauty. It's like art and beauty, and all of this is the soul. All of these things combined are the soul. Same thing here: body, soul, spirit, all of these things work together. Thoughts, interests, and heart. The pursuit of excellence limits us. Perfection is an illusion that somehow we are less than good enough. Run away fast from perfection, friends, believe me, because perfection is the mind and the personality that is trying to stop you from experiencing who you truly are at your core, right? It's a heavy anchor that is wrapping itself around your neck and stopping you from reaching your full potential. Shed it. It won't happen overnight, particularly if perfection has been a way of life for you. You have to break the habit. Becoming whole also requires us to let go of old anger and grudges and judge less and give more. If we aim for excellence and wholeness, this can help us move on the path away from perfection and more towards a sense of loving kindness to ourselves and to others. As Unitarians, as I've mentioned already, we are often called heretics because we stray away from that mainstream Christian view of what is eternal salvation. But our core values focus on transformation. We can transform ourselves and the world around us to be better. As we seek to connect our core essence through transformation, we're connecting with our soul, and what happens in that afterlife is really kind of irrelevant compared to what we can do here and now. We are an acts, a religion of acts, not a religion of, you know, like control. We need to connect with our soul first, and then we make our impact through manifestation of our soul. So I challenge all of you as you lay in bed, perhaps at the end of the day today, to sit back and reflect on the wholeness of you. Find the blockages and the barriers. You know, like I told you, we went on a cruise a couple years ago. I woke up one day and I looked in the mirror and I went, oh, who is that? Who is that person in that mirror? And I went, ooh, I need to change. And it took a lot of reflection. It took a lot of starts and stops to get to the place where I felt comfortable with saying, I have an issue and I need to get it fixed. And that was hard. So find those blockages, find those barriers, commit yourself to the pursuit of excellence each day, and open up your true essence that has perhaps been hidden for any number of reasons, both in and out of our control. Find your soul. Embrace it and share it with others. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be whole. All right. Our final hymn is number 126 in the gray hymnal, Come Thou Font of Every Blessing. do the stewardship? As Jamie passes along the offering basket, I offer the gentle reminder that we're still collecting stewardship pledges, please, and that this community of faith is only supported by your giving. Stewardship is more than financial donations, but it's really important this year, my friends. If you can't write a check, please help our church survive and thrive, offering your time to help make coffee or bring snacks, come usher, come sit in the pulpit, whatever works for you. We're open to all opportunities for you. Please donate as you can with your time, talent, and treasure. All are needed for our church to prosper. All the mailing information is there on the screen. Our P.O. box now in Glen Carbon, or you can go to Givelify, and please do what you can. If you need some support and you want to know what you can do, talk to a board member, because there's plenty of here. Allison, Jamie, Nathan, Alex, Jennifer, Becky's here somewhere in the back, so we're good. All right. Thank you. Please join me with our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. All right, what do we got for announcements? La, 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 la. Annie is next week, and Beth is going to be working with her. Beth McMahon will work with her. Eden will be here after that for our annual congregational meeting. Alex or Nathan, you want to say something about that really quick? You can come up here because we need to hear microphone. Okay.
So regarding the congregational meeting, we will, Alex will be sending out information by the end of today regarding what is going to happen. And another thing that I've been working on, I'm hoping I get it by the 21st. I have been working on a t-shirt design.
It's awesome.
So I'm going to be, well, I gotta go at home and redo everything, and hopefully All Pro and Caseyville will work with me, and hopefully I'll get like a few sizes to show everybody. So that's what I've been working on.
And Keith, I know you wanted to help, but I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. So we'll just, if you want to be more involved, please. I just want to make sure you know. Good. Okay, good. All right, good. Yes.
Yeah, I'm making an announcement.
Please come up.
Thank you for that lovely sermon.
You're welcome. Welcome.
My soulmate of 40 some odd years died a week and a half ago.
Bestie.
Okay, in his honor, I would like to match any donation that you want to make up to $100 to our, is it a building fund?
Sure, building fund, whatever fund, yeah. Pledge drive, our pledge drive.
Our pledge drive.
There we go.
For the month of June. So up until June 30th, if you can give, I will match in my friend's honor.
Thank you. That's
and
wonderful.
I haven't told Mary about it. I haven't told Amy about it, or Jamie, so, or anybody. I just decided after your little announcement a couple weeks ago that we need all the help we can get, and I can do it. So I would love to do that.
Thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Good. Jen, obviously, come on up.
You might have noticed our kids are now in service. So service in the summer gets a little bit more fun.
Less people around.
A little bit, more active. But because of that, it's a nice way to give our teachers a break through the summer. However, we do have a 2-person policy with our kids and our babies. And so we should be having a new nursery person come in very soon. She's getting background checked right now. She's fantastic. but she needs another set of hands. So if anyone is available at any point through the summer to sit with the kids, if you are willing to do that, I would really appreciate letting our teachers always be able to come in here and be in service in the summer so that they have their break before we get back in the fall. Okay, thanks. Just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Also, I need somebody to pick up Pete next week for church. Nathan and I, who normally sort of trade off on that, I'll be out of town, as will he be. Pam's got it. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate you very much. All right, good. Let's see what else. Sorry, do you want to go back really quick? There was a couple of things. We have no breakdown today. Woohoo! So that's a good news. All right, next. That's coming next. Next slide. There you go. Yeah. Next slide. Go ahead.
Because it says set up and take down at the top. I think that means we break down today.
That's the setup and takedown, but June 7th, no breakdown. That's what it says.
That's what it says.
No breakdown. It said no breakdown.
Okay. So today, Turkish Pavilion, 11:30, right after church. You can read that. It's a really fun experience, although I will say the last time I went there, I got rear-ended, but that was not anybody's fault at the picnic. It wasn't a UU who did it, so it's totally fine. It's all good. And even if it was, it's just a car.
There's tons of food at this.
Yeah.
It's always so if you look at this and go, why don't I have anything to bring? Don't worry about it.
Just go. It's a blast. It really is a lovely time to connect with all the congregations, come together, and you get to interact with folks, and it's just a delight. So good. Anything after that? Oh yeah, men's group meeting, best buffet in Wood River. I've heard great things about it, so one of these days I'll get up there to eat there. Who do we got? Oh, so I see the picture of them. Hosting Summer of New Song, second Friday of every month. The 12th will be board games and snacks. The 10th will be following the weekly service. More details coming, I guess. 8:14 is storytelling. Peg's going to be involved in coordinating with all that kind of stuff. So it's like a storytelling, like a moth storytelling hour or something along that line, as our UU folks will attest to. Anything else on the menu? Pancake breakfast on Saturday the 20th, 8 to 11. Goes to the Dyslexic Center, Glen Ed Pantry, Humane Society, and Historical Society. Hot, fresh pancakes, sausage links, and scrambled eggs. It's really good. Donation of $7. Now, we used to be more supportive of that, like in terms of volunteering and selling things, but really more than anything else, they just need us to show up and support them because they've been generous to us, and we really appreciate that. So anything we can do to help them would be great. Anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, so please join me in reciting the extinguishing prayer. The light of truth in me cannot be put out. We are keepers of this thing until we meet again. Our closing words are from the UUA website by Jay Wolin. The ripples of love. I know not where you are, whether your soul is traveling the universal highway, or as I imagine, sitting at the left hand of God, being consulted about matters of conscience, or maybe reincarnated as the 1%, or as a dog. And even if it has been dissipated with the end of your body, you live. You live in me and in others. Through our memories of you, through our actions in the world, through the love you shared during your life, love that created ripples whose impact will be felt for eternity by those near and far. Let us all live a life that creates ripples of love. Amen. And have a great, wonderful, amazing day. Postlude. Thank you, everybody. Heart and soul, my friends, heart and soul. I got it. Love it, love it. That goes there. We can bring the metal chairs.